3 weeks ago, I accomplished my biggest goal ever, my very first art show. It was a complete success. Lots of people showed up. I sold more than expected. I even made the front page of my local newspaper. It was everything that I wanted, so I don't understand why I feel like this. I'm just having a hard time getting back into making things. The goalposts have been removed, and it just feels like I have nothing to work towards. And this video is brought to us by Squarespace. I'm having a really hard time designing right now, even though it's my favorite part of the process, and I have 5 projects ready to be drawn up. The only way I know how to get back into the rhythm is to just start making something, anything. So I'm setting those 5 projects aside and making something I could make with my eyes closed, a box to hold all my memories and keepsakes from the art show. My first ever woodworking project was a box. A box can be dead simple or as ornate as you want it to be. This should be easy. No drawing, no plans, no decisions, no pressure. Just cutting and gluing. One final chapter on this milestone. I'm working without a plan here. I'm just cutting willy-nilly. This is something I've done a million times before. I haven't decided if I'm going to add a bunch of embellishments. Right now, I just need to make a box. I swapped out blades for a flat bottom blade, which is going to leave a nice flat bottom for the 2 grooves that we're going to cut in here for the top and the base. I found some walnut plywood that I want to use for the top and bottom, and it needs to fit into this groove, so that means we have to widen the groove just a little bit. I haven't been in the shop for nearly 3 weeks. That first week, I knew I was going to take off after 6 weeks of intense prep for the art show. But the last 2 weeks, I found every excuse to not come in here. There was no immediate deadlines. There were no fires to put out. There was nothing to work towards. So for 2 weeks, I found every excuse to not go out into the shop. Just never felt like it. But today, I'm pushing through. I'm here anyways. Since I am using a plywood top and bottom, I'm going to glue it in there. If this was solid wood, you would have to allow it to move. My glue bottle is broken, so I'm getting glue all over where I just sanded, so I'm going to have to fix that. A couple of times, I have forgotten to put in the top and bottom into the box when gluing up, and I will never do that again. I said I would never do that again the first time, but sometimes it takes a couple of lessons to learn your lesson. There we go. If you're new to this, you might be thinking I glued my box permanently shut, but we're going to cut the lid off in a later step, and it will just ensure that the top lid will fit with the base. But there we go. We'll just let that dry for a little bit. To reinforce these miter joints, I've got my spline jig that wraps around my fence. This is going to go right in there, and then we're going to cut a nice little groove, a dado, into the box so we can reinforce that in the next step. The thing is, this is easy. The woodworking, the cutting, the making, it all comes natural to me, but the desire hasn't been there. That's just a weird feeling, and I'm not used to that. I am now going to cut the lid off on the table saw. The reason I'm doing this now is that the lid and the box are going to match and fit perfectly. And if I cut all the way through, when I get to that last side, it's gonna wanna collapse on itself. So I am not gonna cut all the way through. I'm just gonna cut most of the way through and then finish it off by hand. A couple of weeks before the art show, the gallery owner, Jerry, he warned me that sometimes there's this post-show crash where you're climbing up the mountain and you're working towards this peak, and it means everything to you. But once it's over, what do you do? The thing is, I don't know if I feel this way because he mentioned it to me and it's just been floating around in my head, or if it's an actual post-show crash. And I'm not sure which one is worse. We're creating a lip here so the lid has something to fit over, and that's just going to get glued in there. And this was all just cut to fit, friction fit. Probably don't even need much glue because it's all going to fit in there so tight and good. So I've got all of the edges chamfered. I put a nice big chamfer around the outside. Everything is sanded, and we got that really, really good fit on there. It's like suction. You can feel the air doing its suction thing. So I'm really, really happy with all of that. It's looking really good. And I don't know if I feel any different. This is as far as I got in my head as far as planning out this project. And I wasn't sure if I would even want to go any further than this. But I do. A few years ago, when I did the Nintendo NES recasing, I think I could do better. I think I want to revisit this project. But on the front here, I put one of these Super Mario Brother bombs. And I did this thing where I printed it out, cut it out. I used epoxy on top to create that puffy sticker type look. And I want to do that technique again, but I'm going to draw up something, 3D print it, and then put the epoxy on top to see if I can get that cool technique with surface tension and epoxy. It looks, that actually is my only part that I like about this NES recasing. I could have done better. While I am drawing this part up and printing it out and doing this cool technique, I'd like to tell you about today's sponsor, and that is Squarespace. I've been using Squarespace for a very long time, way before they were a sponsor. I am just using one of their default templates, like the default template. But since I have the option of going in there and moving things around, I can change font families, not just fonts, but font families. So maybe your website has two different fonts, one for the heading and one for the body. You can go in and just swipe that out instantly and it updates your entire site. You can have different color palettes. I used to have a very strict color palette. Since then, we've been kind of removing the branding. We'll talk more about that in the future, but I've just gone to black and white. And I can easily go and do that with Squarespace. There's a lot of integrations. For example, I work with a third-party company that prints all of my merch, and they've got an integration with Printful that just seamlessly works with my website, keeps track of inventory, automatically sends the orders to Printful. They ship them out for me. You need special things like a calendar for people to book time with you? Squarespace has got you covered. They've got calendars. You can sell both physical and digital items. There's a number of image galleries if you just need a portfolio, but you don't want your portfolio to look like everybody else's portfolio. You can have it work in different ways. Squarespace has got you covered. And if starting a new website feels exhausting to you, don't worry about it. You're going to go in and you're going to answer a few questions, like whether or not you want a contact form or that portfolio that we talked about. Are you going to sell things? And various other questions. And as you tick those boxes off, Squarespace is building your website for you in the background, and it's going to populate it with placeholder text and photos. So all you got to do is go in and replace that placeholder text and photos with your text and photos. If you need a website, Squarespace has got you. Visit squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, visit squarespace.com/makesomething, or just use the code makesomething at checkout to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Jefferson, I'm starting to get it back. I'm starting to feel it. And like sometimes just like the regular woodworking can just feel like regular woodworking to me, but when I get to add like color and texture and some things outside of woodworking, I get re-energized, and this is looking pretty darn good. So let's finish this up. I'm just eyeballing this and not using the template like I normally would. And I'm just working on the fly here. One of my first thoughts was painting the background in different colors, like the unsubscribe wall, and I decided against it. And now I think I want to pour the UV resin outside the sign, so I can have that super gloss and everything else can be my normal matte finish. I think that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna get the UV resin back out and do some more fun stuff. And it might not work, but that's okay. We're just getting back in the groove. I don't have a lot of experience using UV resin, but the thing is, there's no time crunch. I can work with it until I'm ready and then just expose it to UV light. I don't know why I don't use UV resin more. I think I'm just gonna let that sit for a little bit before curing it to see if it levels out. It's pretty thick and I can see some brush strokes in there still, but I mean, this is not for anybody else. This is just for me. And I can always look back on this and think, oh, that was an experiment that worked, or that was an experiment that didn't work. Don't do that again. I can see that my hickory splines are almost the same color as the walnut. You can barely see them. That is not how I planned that to go. I definitely feel better now that I've got something complete. I don't know if my motivation is totally back, but we'll find out when I go and sit down and try to draw up the next project.